So I'd like to introduce you to the other type of defibrillator we have within the Trust. We refer to this as our manual defibrillator simply because it can be used in manual mode, although it has other functions. You can shock in automated mode, we can cardiovert and we can pace. You'll find this defib in the more acute areas across the Trust. A&E, for example, ICU, CCU, HDU, and those wards that have a high acuity of patients and a high prevalence of cardiac arrest. There are also spare manual defibrillators across the Trust that can be brought to any ward or department should needed. So there's one that sits in the site office and there is also one in CCU. So if you are in a ward that does not have this but you feel like you need it for your patient, then please send a porter or a member of staff to those areas and this will be made available to you as well. This needs to be checked once a day and once per month. So the daily check I'm going to show you first, and then the monthly operational check I'll show you second. So to start the test, one of the first things we need to do is make sure that our defibrillator cable, the cable that we will plug our pads into, is attached to the test plug. These are cable tied to the top of all of these model of defibs. If for any reason you do not have one of these on your defibrillator, then you need to contact equipment services to get that rectified, because like I say, without this you cannot test your defibrillator, and if we cannot test it, we cannot ensure that it is safe for use on patients. So I'm going to start by putting my pads cable onto my test plug, and the daily check is really quick and simple to do. I'm going to go straight round to 150 on the dial. This will alarm at us because obviously it's on a test plug and not a real patient, but we can silence the alarm just by acknowledging it there. We're going to charge and we will shock once this flashes.
Shock cancelled.
And you'll notice that the defibrillator is now printing off that test strip. Once it gets to the end, if we hit the print button, that will stop. And what you'll have on this test strip is the date and time of which you've done your daily check, and it will say that the battery is good, that the defib was able to charge and that a shock was delivered. And essentially that's our daily check, because that's the main function of this. We need to make sure that every day this defib is capable of charging and delivering a shock in its most basic function. I would advocate that you leave this on for the next 24 hours so that anybody who then goes to use this defib knows that it's passed its user test and it's ready. The other way to know that this defib is ready is to check this top window. If you have a flashing, what looks like an egg timer in that top window, again, this defib is functional and safe for use. If you see a red cross or X in this top window, this defib is not safe for use and you need to do a test on it. So the next one I'd like to show you is how to do an operational check. So this operational check is the one we would like you to do once per month. And it's a more in-depth check looking at all of the leads and all of the functions within the defibrillator. So if we just get rid of the acknowledgements. So to do the operational check, we hit the menu button. We dial down to where it says Other. And then operational check, run operational check, and it will ask you, are you sure? It's asking you, are you sure? Because you will be leaving clinical mode. So whilst you're doing an operational check, this defib will not be functional on a patient, and that's why it asks that question. So we'll say yes. And then the defib will simply give you instructions and it will want you to do a series of tasks to check that it's working. And we follow the instructions. So the first thing it's asking me to do is to turn the therapy knob to 170, which I will do. It is asking about the end tidal and it's saying that it's not connected. We know that, so that's fine. I'll click OK and you'll see that it will work its way through. Turn to 150 and press charge. Press shock.
Shock delivered.
It will ask if I heard that. Did you hear that? Yes, I did. Press and release the sync button. And the majority of the checks it will run for itself. So it'll be checking the battery and some of the leads. Doesn't take too long to complete the rest of these checks. And once complete, again, it will print you out a test strip to show that all of the elements tested have passed. Once you get to the end of that test strip, if we hit the print button, that will stop. One thing I'd like to show you just on this operational check part here is that there is a box at the end for you to sign. So the operator who did the check, if you sign, and then there's a box there for any comments that you need to make. I would keep this monthly operational strip that's been signed, and I would keep it within the month that's appropriate as per your emergency trolley checklist, as proof that you've done it and as proof that there's been no incidences or errors with your defibrillator as well. So now I would like to show you our manual defibrillator in use. This type of defibrillator has two modes of delivering a shock during cardiac arrest. So you can use it in an AED mode, that's an automated mode, similar to the smaller AED that I showed you earlier, where you turn the machine on and you follow the instructions, and that's absolutely acceptable to do. The other mode you can use, this mode, it's a manual mode, and that's why we often refer to this as our manual defibrillator, and I will show you both methods of delivering a shock. In reality, what I want you to do is deliver the shock in the mode that you are most comfortable with and the one that you have been trained to do. So one of the things I'd like to point out as well is that because these are tested every day, more often than not, the cable for the pads is left on the test plug, which is cable tied to the top of the defibrillator. This is a common issue that we have during cardiac arrest when everyone's feeling a little bit of pressure, is we get a little bit confused with this. So in order to find the cable for the pads, I want you to find the thickest cable from the defibrillator, follow it to the end, and you will find the solution to the problem. That is where the pads will plug into. I'm going to leave it on the test plug to demonstrate this because, like I say, this is one of the most common issues that we find in practice. So we're going to do automated mode first. So my colleague Andrea has initiated chest compressions on a collapsed patient. The defibrillator has arrived to the bedside, and this is what I would do. So I'm going to turn it into AED mode, remove it from the pads, and then follow the instructions.
Adult mode. Insert connector firmly. Apply pads.
So I will apply the pads in the normal way, following the pictures on the pads and not interrupting chest compressions to do that. We've already said that it's the thickest cable. There's only one way these will fit, so you cannot get that wrong.
Press pads firmly to patient's bare skin.
And follow the instructions.
Stay clear of patient.
So Andrea, everyone clear from the bed, please.
Stay clear. Shock advised. Stay clear.
This shock
If
button
there is shock,
flashes in the same way that the other one does. So
press the flashing orange button.
everybody
Now.
clear of the bed, oxygen away. I'm shocking now.
Shock delivered. Begin CPR.
And we continue. And in the same way that the AED keeps your timing, in AED mode on this defibrillator, you again have your timing. So as this green bar comes across the screen, at the end is your 2-minute cycle. Every 2 minutes, you'll be reminded to stop and either deliver a shock or no shock advised. So again, we leave the defibrillator on and running all the while that we're doing cardiac compressions on a patient. So in manual mode, the machine will not talk to you. In this mode, you have to be confident on your cardiac arrest rhythms, knowing which ones are shockable and non-shockable, and you have to be familiar with the other buttons on the defibrillator. So again, we've applied the pads and we know that this is a shockable rhythm. This is VF. So I need to charge the device. On the dial here, you'll see that 150 is a different colour. That's because every shock we deliver is delivered at 150 joules, non-escalating. So I dial to 150 and then I charge. The difference here is that Andrea can continue chest compressions whilst I charge the device. When it's ready for shocking, there'll be a change in pitch and the shock button will flash. At this point, everybody must be clear of the bed. So everyone clear, please. Oxygen away. I'm shocking.
Shock delivered.
Please return to chest compressions.
Begin CPR.
And you again will notice that unlike AED mode, there is no 2-minute timer that comes across on the screen. So in manual mode, it's very much down to the team. It's very much down to the person operating the defib, like I say, to know the rhythms, to know the energy that needs to be charged, and to keep the time. There is a timer at the top of the screen. This is a continuous timer from the moment you turn your defib on to the moment you turn it off. So at the point you deliver the shock, you note the time, and then every 2 minutes from there, we would pause for a rhythm check. And then turn the defibrillator off. It takes about 10 seconds to shut down. If you turn it back on within that shutdown period, the defib will remember that patient that it was just being used on, and your data will still be available. After that 10-second period, all that data will be lost and the machine will be ready for a new patient or new scenario.